What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of F1 Fantasy Pole Position. It is the deadline live stream before the Singapore Grand Prix. So much to kind of break down here. Squad is right there on the left. Lando, George, Franco, Valtteri, and Alex with Ferrari and McLaren. Haven't made my transfers yet, but I'm pretty sure I know where I am going. I've put up a poll, Leclerc versus Piastri. That seems to be the biggest decision in F1 fantasy right now. Let me know in the comments what your lineup decisions are over the next hour. We will go over all of them. So reach out, say hey, where you're watching from, what you're thinking ahead of the Singapore Grand Prix. And yeah, any likes and subscriptions to the YouTube channel are always greatly appreciated. Thanks for tuning in on this Saturday morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are watching. My name's June. If you're new to the YouTube channel, I put this out 2 or 3 times a week about some F1 fantasy content. So yeah, we are here 59 minutes until the deadline. Right now, just going over my squad here. Let me get this. So right now, the moves I am looking at making are George, Russell, and Alexander Albon out, and getting Zhou Guan Yu in, and that gives me enough money to run either Charles Leclerc or Oscar Piastri. So yeah, that is kind of where I'm at. Don't know if it's going to be Oscar or Charles at this point in time. It seems like Charles had a bad kind of, or a down kind of FP3, and that's putting some doubts in people's mind. I will admit, last night I was pretty locked into getting Charles because then we've got coverage of the top 2 drivers in the top 2 teams for this weekend. However, heading into COTA, McLaren should be pretty strong there as well. It might be nice to just stay with the triple McLaren as they've been more consistent and strong throughout the season. And then I can't get priced out of that triple McLaren heading into COTA either. What is up, Rohit? Nice to see you. Love that profile picture of the cat. And he says, they say I swapped Piastri for Norris last time. I missed out on the 1 million increase. Ouch. Yeah, a lot of us went with the final fix last time. Let me know in the comments below if you went with the final fix. This time last week, I was in Baku about to watch qualifying, and I made the choice to go before the race, I went with the final fix. And it went pretty disastrously. I bought in Leclerc, didn't work out, but oh well, you live and you learn. There is a possibility that I play the autopilot chip this week as well. However, it does seem like Lando is so far out in front this week that can maybe save it. There's 7 races left. I've got 2 chips left. I got the extra DRS boost and the autopilot. So I think it was Mr. F1 Fantasy on X was saying that he still has 5 chips left this season. So that is something that you need to think about. There's 7 races left. When are you going to use those chips? Right now, for the extra DRS boost, I'm thinking that will go on probably in COTA. Brazil can kind of be up in the air. And I think Qatar is the last sprint race of the year. And we'll see what happens with their tires. Because I remember last year they had a tire minimum or maximum that you could use your tires. So that could kind of throw something in the works here. AB Mose says, I got Norris, Leclerc, Joe, Colapinto, and Sargent, McLaren, Ferrari, and no negative activated. Yes, I used the no negative last week on my test team, my T2 team, and I had Logan Sargent in there, and he did not get any negative points. So you will be saved. I'm assuming you took a negative 25 last week there, AB Mose, but oh well. Hopefully that will help you out this week. Zhou Guan Yu, Colapinto, Williams looks strong here. If we move over here to the qualifying data from F1.com, we can see that Williams is right here, right below the big 4 of McLaren, Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes. Williams, VCarb, then Haas, Aston Martin, Alpine, and Sauber. And yeah, the time zone was a little weird. I was in Azerbaijan, and I was still like, how many hours is it ahead of Germany here? Because can't keep track in that part of the world. Some parts of the world there that are like just as east are only 1 hour ahead, and then Azerbaijan was 2 hours ahead. It was a little confusing. I was like there, I was just counting down the minutes, and I was still kind of like, what time is qualifying again? But did not miss it. I did miss the F2 sprint race, which was that was all right, but oh well. So like we're looking at here with the qualifying simulation pace, we've got these 10 teams. Sauber looking dismal as always. Running both Bottas and Zhou Guanyu is not ideal, obviously, but I did mention this in my Grand Prix preview earlier this week that kind of going with the top tier asset and not trying to get a balanced team. I think I had Lando Norris plus Colapinto, and then Leclerc and Sainz plus I think it was Bottas or Joe or something like that. And it just turned out that Norris was the better option. And then I did another version of that where I had Leclerc and Piastri plus Bottas or whatever, and then it was George plus Alexander Albon, and that worked out better for the Leclerc Piastri side as well. So hopefully, if you are able to fit in another premium driver and just you have to run one of the Sauber guys, that is where I would go in F1 Fantasy this week. We can go over here. Where to next? We've got Ryder at F1 Fantasy Tools has updated his simulations for FP3, and this is where they came out. So Ferrari went a little bit down. Norris kind of stayed where he was at. Piastri came up here. So now they are predicting on F1 Fantasy Tools that Leclerc is going to fall 0.5 points short in the expected points range compared to Piastri, which does make me lean towards Piastri a little bit. Triple McLaren is going to be a strong option for the rest of the year, I would think. It seems, even with the little wing controversy that is going on there in F1 in general, it sounds like they won't have to run that wing until Vegas, the second to last race of the season. So it shouldn't affect them that much. And then according to all the data that we've been seeing here, we can go back to the F1.com data. As you can see, they are a little bit ahead of Ferrari in qualifying pace. And then they are really far ahead of almost everyone, except Ferrari's close there. But yeah, Red Bull, Mercedes, I think it's going to be, as long as McLaren doesn't really do what McLaren has been doing most of the season, hopefully they can get the strategy better there. It should not be all that bad on Sunday, and it should be a pretty strong weekend. I've taken one other transfer in my T3 team that has like 131 million in budget, just trying to roll into Coda there. So nothing really major going on there. I'm trying to see what else that I have pulled up here for F1 Fantasy. Not a ton, just it kind of feels like a pretty easy weekend in terms of what we are going to do for F1 Fantasy. I got to put Joe down there. That's just going to bother me a little bit of OCD to have Zhou Guanyu on the top row. That does not look good at all. Yeah, that sounds like the Sauber guys are going to qualify pretty low. Hopefully they qualify 19th and 20th, to be honest, so they don't lose that many points. And yeah, we'll probably see some DNFs and some safety cars around this track. It happens quite a bit in Singapore. There was a couple last year, if I remember correctly, when Carlos Sainz took the win. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at. So let me know what your thoughts, comments, questions, concerns are in F1 Fantasy, and we will just go over those as well. We've had AB Mose talking about how he's running Sargent with the no negative. Rohit was kind of mentioning that he had a tough weekend last weekend when he took out Piastri for Norris, and he missed out on the 1 million increase. But yeah, that's where we're at. We are 51 minutes away from the lineup lock, and I will be here that entire 51 minutes. We can go back to this here, the simulations from F1 Fantasy Tools. So I don't think anyone is really thinking about running Red Bull this weekend. As we can see, they're pretty miserable. Same with Mercedes, especially for like the price bracket that we're operating in with those guys. Like you can get, if you're in the Perez range, you can get a Sainz instead. If you're in the Verstappen range, you can get Norris instead as well. So that's where I would go in F1 Fantasy. But yeah, McLaren's looking the strongest. I think I had one simulation on the F1 Fantasy Tools that had me bringing in Alonso on my T3 team, and I just can't do it. I'm not ready to trust Aston Martin at all, even though it looks like they'll probably be the fifth best team, sixth best team. But I kind of like Williams. I wish I could keep Albon in this weekend, but like I was saying on the Grand Prix preview that I've already said before, the balanced team may not come out ahead this weekend, especially if Lando gets pole, locks up driver of the day, and fastest lap. We're looking at a huge, huge weekend for the British driver. So hopefully you guys can all get to a double premium lineup. We can go over here, see if we've got any lineups locked in amongst the other content creators here. Let's go here. Got Bottas talk about qualifying. Here we go. Here we go. I believe I saw Rob and Adam from the Fantasy Formula both locked in their teams. Here's F1 Fantasy Tips locking in their team as well. Think I'm not going to stick with the same team to the weekend. Russell plus Albon to Sainz plus Joe is tempting, but not much in it. And the extra transfer next race could prove useful. Will go down to the wire. Good luck, all. He's looking at Norris, Bottas, Albon, Colapinto, and George Russell. That's the team I currently have. And I am hoping to upgrade it a little bit there. Prudvaj here Prud says, I got Norris, Leclerc, Colapinto, Bottas, and Joe. That is what I am also thinking about, Raj. So I'm right there with you. Any thoughts on going Piastri instead of Leclerc? Or are you just trying to cover your bases there? It might be nice to kind of have. I'm just wondering if McLaren is going to be super strong at COTA. It might be nice to just not be priced out of going triple McLaren. The important thing to know is that Leclerc and Piastri are now A tier assets. So they don't have a chance to rise up 0.5 or 0.3, 0.1 million in F1 Fantasy anymore. They can only go up 0.1 and 0.2. So maybe if your budget drivers go up there as well, that could maybe save you with a transfer or two, just kind of getting the price right. So maybe for the next race, you can be back in it there. Let's check out if anyone else is locked in the lineup. Pop Pan Man, looking here. He is top 4,000 in the world right now. He's got Leclerc, Albon, Mercedes, to Piastri, Bottas, Ferrari. I'll be driving during deadline. So good luck all. I have a feeling Piastri is just better long-term pick, so might as well go with him now. That is also kind of what I'm thinking there. I would pretty much be running the exact same team as Tom. He has 1.4 million more in budget than I do, though, because I would be maxed out at that point. AB Mo says, do you know how the autopilot chip works in a sprint weekend? Can it 2x two different drivers or max points for the week? I believe it's max points for the week, AB Mo's. It doesn't take it day by day like how the no negative chip goes. The no negative chip worked like that last season, but they've changed it for this year, which is an improvement. If you ask me, in the strength of the chip. And yeah, I think autopilot chip is just the total points for the weekend. So that is something I'm considering if I was going to go with Charles Leclerc, but he looked a little bit weaker in FP3. So I think I'm rocking the papaya shirt right now as well. So maybe it is time to just get on the triple McLaren train while I can, because Colapinto has kind of come out and said, I was listening to FP3 or FP2 this morning, watching that on replay. And Laura Winter was talking about how she saw him in the airport in Azerbaijan before they flew to Singapore. And he was like, yeah, it's a whole new track for me. I really don't have a lot of experience. Like, it'll be something that I really need to learn and get to grips with quick. It looks like he's done an okay job because Williams is pretty strong this week, but you never know. It just takes kind of like one moment. Plus there could be rain and just like a whole thing. So, yeah, I think I lost my train of thought there, actually, talking about just if Bottas, Joe, or Colapinto kind of go down in price, that would have you priced out of triple McLaren. And they are the strongest car on the grid right now. Raj says, McLaren and Ferrari for the constructors. Should I swap Leclerc with Piastri? I'm thinking about getting to Piastri. However, if you already have Leclerc before you've even if you had Leclerc coming into the week, I'm not sure if it's worth the transfer. I would maybe try and roll the transfer into COTA. That way you just have a little bit more flexibility and seeing how that goes. Rohit says here, I'm going triple McLaren and triple Williams. Let's see what happens. I love it. It's bold. It's beautiful. Is that a budget reason that you're going there, Rohit? Let me know in the comments. I think I have a poll up right now. Leclerc or Piastri. Let's see where everybody is at. It's 50-50. This is not helpful, but that's okay. We will get there eventually. What else have we got here? We got F1 Academy winners. I know I saw Rob's team here. So Joe to Bottas for Rob. He can't do much else. He's been very unlucky this season. Really like T's and P's out there to Rob. He has had Sainz in there and Ferrari last week as well. Norris, Sainz, Colapinto, Bottas, and Albon for him. I do like having Albon in the team, but if I can get up to a Piastri or a Charles Leclerc instead of an Alexander Albon, that is where I will be going. I think he's going to have 3 transfers now for Coda. However, Rohit says it is due to budget. So, I mean, I don't mind. It's an upside play. You could probably get 1.5 million in price rises out of the Williams there, as long as they all finish the race, and Triple McLaren should do quite well for you as well, Rohit. Yeah, so I don't mind that at all. Let's go back here. Where are we going to go? Let's show the qualifying sims. Had to spend money to get Piastri back. Yeah, I understand that. That makes sense. Don't mind that at all. Looking here to trying to find some more lineups. I think I saw Adam's lineup on here as well. Sounds like Piastri or Charles Leclerc will kind of be fined for a pit stop infringement during FP3, but I don't think it's anything we have to worry about as F1 Fantasy Tools. If we go back here, here's Adam's lineup. He is rolling with 2 drivers at the top of the practice table to make sure I'm not priced out of a good 3 DRS boost option for Coda. And yeah, don't hate that either. Yeah, I think a lot of people are thinking more long-term this week, maybe like a couple of weeks down the line. If we go get this handy-dandy race calendar that I've got from, where is it from? I got it for Christmas. It's from like Racing Fanatics, Formula Fanatics or whatever. In October, we've got Coda and we got Mexico coming up. And then right after that, another triple header where we go to Brazil. So that's the end of the triple header there. Not bad at all. It's going to be pretty hectic. So we've got a little bit of a break after Singapore here. I think they're calling it a fall break or something. Not ideal, but oh well. Anyways, let's get back to my squad over here. Where are we going? Okay. So 43 minutes ago, feeling pretty good about the team. I think Triple McLaren is probably the way to go. I said on X earlier this morning, where you can follow me at F1UNFPL, that I was choosing between like the Albon and Sainz lineup or the Leclerc and Zhou Guanyu lineup. But I mean, I can also get Oscar Piastri in there as well. Cheering for double McLaren feels pretty good. I would expect that the team saw what was going on with Lando's car, and they must have adjusted Oscar's overnight to kind of get it more in the window, because Oscar seemed to have a much better Saturday morning than he was having on Friday. So we've got to look into that as well. If you are watching, give the video a like, and yeah, I will be here for another 42-ish minutes to answer any F1 fantasy questions that you would like to be answered. It is a beautiful day here in Germany. It looks like it's going to be pretty inclement weather in Singapore. We can go check that out right now. AccuWeather Singapore. Let's see. Alrighty. So right now it is 9 p.m., 29 degrees Celsius, 74 air quality, blah, 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 blah. 86% cloud cover, only 7% chance of rain. So not too bad there. We can go look at the radar. Close this out here. See if we've got any rain in the forecast coming up here over the next kind of. So right now, yeah, it looks like we're possibly going to get a dry qualifying, which means that the teams can hopefully set up for a dry race on Sunday as well. And go check what that's going to look like tomorrow. It says thunderstorms right now in spots late, cloudy with thunderstorms in spot, hot, danger of dehydration, heat stroke if outside for extended period of time. Well, 2-hour race. in F1 is probably going to do it. 40% chance of rain there. Where are we going now? Going back here. So race simulation pace, McLaren, Ferrari, Red Bull Racing, Mercedes, Williams, Aston Martin, Haas, Red Bull Racing, VCarb, if that's what we want to call them, Alpine, and Sauber. So hopefully Sauber just trundle along at the back of the pack and qualifying out in Q1, 19th and 20th. That would be very nice. Valtteri Bottas, don't try to be a hero, and just qualify right there. Maybe pick up a couple of positions gained from some DNFs, and that'll be hunky dory. But yeah, I mean, as you can see here, F1.com was kind of mentioning Williams and RB as dark horses after a strong Friday. And yeah, Williams did pretty dang well here. We've got, let's go to where do we go? Yeah, I will get the FP3 results up here real quick. Give me 1 second. All righty, there we go. So FP3 results here. We've got Norris, Russell, Piastri, Verstappen, Leclerc, Sainz, Hamilton, Albon, Colapinto, Alonso, Tsunoda, Hulkenberg, Magnussen, Gasly, Perez, Ocon, and then this beautiful down here, this beautiful, lovely Kick Sauber, 19th and 20th. Let's keep that in there. Daniel Ricciardo, I guess we should talk about that a little bit. If you have Ricciardo in your lineup, you should be prepared to have to get him out before COTA, because there is a rumor going around that this is going to be his last Grand Prix with Visa Cash App RB as of right now, because Liam Lawson may have some contract thing where he has to race a certain amount of races for Red Bull. Otherwise, he could become a free agent and go to another team, which would be quite interesting to see. So this could be the last time we see Daniel Ricciardo in a F1 car this season and possibly forever. It'd be a little bit sad to see someone that's been so iconic in the sport just kind of get like shunted out over the fall break and not really get like a proper send-off to end the season or anything like that. But if you have Ricciardo in your F1 fantasy team, that would make him an inactive driver going into Circuit of the Americas, which would potentially give you a negative 25 points in F1 fantasy. So I definitely wouldn't bring him in because then you're probably going to have to transfer him out if he becomes an inactive driver, unless you have the no negative chip available. And yeah, I think it's just one of those things. So I would try to get him out this week if you think long term. But if you keep him for this race and then they bring in Liam Lawson at his price, you can probably just flip him over to Liam Lawson, who impressed last year in his short stint in F1 while Daniel Ricciardo had a hand injury, suffered in Zandvoort. So not the worst thing in the world. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at with Ricciardo. I would not bring him in, and I would just I would potentially try and get him out. Maybe if you can get over to a Nico Hulkenberg or something like that. Let's see where we can go with this. Yeah, I mean, Daniel Ricciardo is 11 million. Nico Hulkenberg is 10.2. So you could definitely get there as well. Chat is a little quiet. So if you've got any F1 questions, anything in general you just want to spitball about, we've got 27 or 37 minutes until the lineup locks happen. And yeah, happy to talk about whatever we need to. This is where my squad is at right now. I'm pretty much locked into Zhou Guanyu, and I'm probably just going to bring in Oscar Piastri, because while having Charles Leclerc would give me kind of like cover my bases a little bit more, and if I did bring in Charles Leclerc, I would probably use the autopilot chip. I feel like even if Oscar gets pole and Lando gets second, I think McLaren has reached the point where team orders would be like, let's get ahead, let's get out of here a little bit, and then Lando would get flipped into the lead. That would probably hamper his driver of the day prospects from an F1 fantasy standpoint. However, it would still be 25 points compared to 18 in the actual like race position. So you'd be gaining, or you'd only be losing 3 points in that regard, potentially a fastest lap as well. However, if Verstappen is all the way down there in like 8th or 9th, and he's just trying to get as many points as possible, could see him bolt on some soft tires at the end of the race if he doesn't really care. Even if he's like 9th or 10th and he's like, oh, I got to get something, we'll see how that goes. So we could see some shenanigans there in the fastest lap category for sure, or even like Red Bull could maybe sacrifice Perez just to take a point off of Lando, because at this point, Verstappen is 59 points ahead in the driver standings. And yeah, every point is going to matter, especially if Lando and McLaren just look so strong this weekend. They should probably increase their constructors championship lead by quite a bit, and just be rather a pretty strong squad throughout the weekend. So yeah, I think this is where I'm going to go. I'm not going to use my autopilot chip this week, just because it feels like a tiny bit of a waste. Let me know if you guys think the autopilot chip would be a good use this weekend in F1 fantasy. Let's go over. I mean, we'll keep on here with the teams. I'm just going to see what the simulations are saying for my T1 squad. So right now I've got this. They're actually saying that I should just, I think they've got my budget wrong here. I cannot possibly afford that in my T1 squad. I don't think I can. I've got 0.0 in the bank, so I'm not entirely sure what they are thinking over there, but that's okay. Man, yeah, it's kind of with McLaren out in front. There's not a huge amount of decisions to make. It's kind of just like hopefully you can get at least double McLaren in your lineup with another B tiered or A tier or B tier driver. Preferably, you'd like to get Oscar or Charles in there, but I think if you have to get to Carlos Sainz instead, that is not a bad thing at all either. And yeah, I think this is where I'm probably gonna lock this in right now, and then we can just focus on y'all for the rest of the time. 34 minutes to go. And that will give me, 0.0 in the bank there. So this is kind of, I really don't want to fall out of contention to get the triple McLaren moving forward into Coda, where I could potentially do the extra DRS boosts. So I will probably be going there. Kind of gets me out of getting Alexander Albon in, which I don't love either, but that is where I'm at. So we're just going to do this right now. We're going to confirm the changes, bring in Oscar Piastri and Joe Guan Yu for Alexander Albon and George Russell. That way I don't really have to stress about it heading into the deadline. Here's my T1, my T2, and my T3 team. If you go over here to my T3 team, I've used 1 or 0 transfers so far here. And I'm not sure if the kind of Lando or the Charles to Oscar Piastri transfer is worth it here, especially because I have 3.4 million in the bank here. That's not all that bad at all. So I don't really have to worry about getting priced out of the triple McLaren if I need to go there for Coda. So that's not too bad either. And yeah, in general, so this is the squad right now for T3 team. We got Norris, Leclerc, Alexander Albon, Franco Colapinto, and Nico Hulkenberg. I'm looking over at the F1 Fantasy Tools simulations here. They'd want me to bring in Piastri, Albon, Stroll, and Colapinto. I'm not going anywhere near the Aston Martin. Lance Stroll kind of looked like a little bit of a zombie in the press conference yesterday, so I don't really trust going anywhere near him. And then using 2 transfers there would get me 237.6 points. And right now, my current squad here for the T3 team is on 236.9 points. So don't feel strongly enough to kind of use a transfer there. I may just activate the autopilot chip on this squad actually, because that way kind of covers my bases in case Ferrari come out of nowhere. I believe, oh no, I already used the autopilot chip on the squad earlier this season. I think I used that. Oh man, I don't remember when I used it on that T3 team, but for this squad, I still have the extra DRS and the autopilot chip, but I won't be using those for a while. I may just save the autopilot chip for like the last race of the season and take a punt if I need to kind of crack into a certain range that I would like to be by the end of the year. Right now, I'm outside the top 10K. I've had a pretty miserable few races. I think I've only had 1 green arrow in like the last 6 races. So it has been a little tough moving forward, but we are 30 minutes away from the Singapore Grand Prix qualifying deadline. Get your comments in, get your questions in, and I will happily talk about them. Let's see here. Where else are we going? what else could be going on? Let's go check the lovely website called X here, see what we've got going on in Formula One. Hopefully, it doesn't say that Oscar Piastri is throwing up and will not be racing. Okay, fully focused on quality. There we go. P1 with Matt and Tommy, their predictions are Matt's gone Norris, Piastri, or Norris, Leclerc, Piastri, Verstappen, Sainz. Tommy's gone Norris, Leclerc, Russell, Sainz, and Verstappen. So Tommy not believing in Oscar Piastri. That may just be because he doesn't want Red Bull to fall further behind in the constructors' standings. Formula One letting us know that we are looking at our deadline right now. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to kind of put this out there as well. Quote, live now. That way people can come join on YouTube. Perfect. Alrighty. Yeah, but yeah, so we've had Rohit talking about he's going with triple McLaren and triple Williams due to budget options. And if we go over to the F1 Fantasy Tools page, we can kind of see what that's going to come out with him, or what's that's supposed to kind of get him projected for the week. Let me see here, McLaren. And where are you, Williams? There you are. So let's see. That's about to get you, it says 217-ish. Wait, that's not right. With one more driver. You said triple McLaren, triple. Yeah, I wonder who your other driver is, Rohit, due to budget constraints. I'm not entirely sure, but it said it should be Charles Leclerc, because then you would get 217 points. What else? Going over here, back to the practice debrief from F1.com. McLaren favorites in Singapore. Ferrari are close. Rohit went with Sainz as his fifth driver. Nixie 713 said, hello, hey, do you have any F1 fantasy questions? Because we have answered a few already, and if anything else comes up over the next 29-ish minutes, we can talk about them here. Looking at the performance here, qualifying simulation pace, McLaren, Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes, Williams, RB, Haas, Aston Martin, Alpine, and Sauber. So Williams up here, surprisingly, which is really nice to see just from like an underdog standpoint and someone that's running Franco Colapinto, and the race pace is supposed to be good. So if both Williams can qualify into Q3, they could be looking at another double points finish in Singapore, which would be phenomenal compared to the beginning of their season, or when Logan Sargent was driving for their squad, and it has gone a little bit better since Franco Colapinto came in. I'm not sure if it's just like ignorance is bliss or whatever with him. He just seems to be driving the car a lot better than Logan Sargent was. We can go back here to the F1 Fantasy Tools projections. This is after FP3, so they are updated here. Verstappen, Perez, 20.2, 12.9. Then we've got Mercedes kind of neck and neck here. Still, If you have Mercedes, I would highly advise trying to find a way to get to Ferrari this weekend if you can, or at least setting you up to get there for COTA. It sounds like Hamilton and Russell were both pretty upset with the car yesterday, especially Lewis Hamilton, although he sounds like that quite often, I will say, about the 7-time world champion. Ferrari's projections have gone down a little bit as well. Leclerc is 26.3 and Sainz is at 21.6. If we compare that to yesterday, I believe that, let me find it here. So yesterday for the FP2 projections, Leclerc was at 27.8 and now he's at 26.3, whereas Sainz was at 24.7 and now he is at 21.6. Piastri has kind of picked up, or Piastri and Norris have kind of picked up those points there. Piastri not moving that much from 25.2 to 26.8, but Norris has gone from 31.4 to 35.4. So I guess writers, simulations believe that Norris has a stronger hold on potentially bringing back the lead. Let's see here. Nixie, yes, my team at the moment is Norris, Piastri, Colapinto, Zhou Guanyu, Valtteri Bottas, McLaren, And Ferrari, 2 transfers. Thinking of removing Piastri to Sainz and Joe to Albon, or perhaps just Piastri to Leclerc. Thoughts? I actually went over this in my uh, race preview and team selection video that came out the other day. So like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. That way you don't miss an episode, Nixie. But I was saying that I had a slide out that said, if you go with the top tier asset and kind of the bottom feeder, that was actually proving to be a stronger formula for your squad than kind of trying to find a more balanced team. So for your specific conundrum, I would definitely switch or stay with the Piastri or the Leclerc lineup. And if you want to have a free transfer or like roll a transfer into Coda, I would probably just keep Piastri to Leclerc. In the simulations, it looks like Piastri is going to have a little bit of a stronger weekend as well, courtesy of F1 Fantasy Tools. So if you hold on to that transfer, you can bring it into Coda and have more flexibility. Say, like if Red Bull suddenly looks like back on it, or if Mercedes comes out of nowhere, you'll have 3 free transfers to kind of have the flexibility to go wherever you want in F1 Fantasy. And I just think the difference between Piastri and Leclerc, barring like a DNF or something insane happening, I just think it's gonna kind of stay that way. And and having the free transfer is more valuable than potentially just like a couple of points on the weekend in F1 Fantasy. NK said, I had the same dilemma as you, Leclerc versus Sainz plus Albon, but now triple McLaren on the cards. Well, I can show you what I did here, guys. I went triple McLaren. That is where I am at for the Singapore Grand Prix. I've already made 2 of my transfers. I had Lando Norris, George Russell, Franco Colapinto, Valtteri Bottas, and Alexander Albon. And I took out Albon and Russell, and I brought in Piastri and Zhou Guanyu. So that is where I am at. Jake Viking says Leclerc because high chance Piastri has team orders. And if we are just looking at Singapore in a vacuum, that is a great mention or kind of suggestion there. However, we are also looking at the long term. Maybe we want to save some transfers, have some like other options moving forward into Coda, if you can like roll a transfer, that sort of thing as well. And I think triple McLaren is where you want to be moving forward. Yeah, exactly. I might do the same thing. So naturally, cue the Leclerc poll. Yes, I'm sure Ferrari will just come out of nowhere and knock out the park in 23 minutes, which would be frustrating. However, I know Sainz won here last year, but he has looked weaker than both of the McLarens so far this weekend, and Piastri kind of picked it up this morning as well. So I feel better about getting him into my squad. But yeah, this is where I am at for the Singapore Grand Prix. I'm actually just going to take a screenshot of this and just post it on Elon Musk's website, the old X here. And then let's see. Nixie said, I still have 3 free transfers in Coda if I did Piastri to Leclerc. I mean, at that point, you're golden. If you can just kind of do whatever if you want to cover off just like a Ferrari masterclass on Sunday, which they've been having a great time of it so far, or recently at least, in fantasy or F1 and F1 Fantasy in general. It's yeah, not that bad at all. And then if you have the budget to get back to Oscar Piastri for like, if you have at least, I'm trying to think, the most Leclerc could go up is 0.2, and the most Piastri can go down is 0.7. So I do not have a degree in maths, but I think you need at least 0.9 in the bank, and then you could just make that transfer. Boom. Reading my mind. If you have 1 million in the bank, you should be golden. If you want to go with your gut there, yeah, I would. If you think Leclerc is just kind of had a bad FP3 and Ferrari's going to figure it out and sort it out there pretty quickly between FP3 and qualifying, that happens in 21 minutes, then I think you should go with your gut and go with Leclerc. Like, just because I went with Piastri, because I have my reasons to kind of hold on to them and hope that they are the top option in Coda. That's why I went there. But if your gut is telling you that Leclerc is the option, then I would go with Leclerc. But my gut is telling me Piastri. So that's why I went there instead of Leclerc. Maybe I'm a little bit bitter after what happened in Baku last weekend, where I final fixed him in and it did not go so well. Let me just tweet out my lineup here. And yeah, that is where we will be at for the Singapore Grand Prix. It's going to be pretty exciting. They've added an extra DRS zone. They still don't have that chicane. I don't know if that's like permanently out, but there were, I think it was on the FP2 broadcast. They were saying that there were 85 overtakes last year in Singapore. So maybe we will see more of that this year. I also think the reason that I went with Piastri is if I brought in Leclerc, Nixie, I would probably play the autopilot chip just in case Leclerc does like bang it out of the park on Sunday afternoon and have a fantastic Sunday, and like you can kind of build on that advantage as well. Yeah, exactly. NK said, "Is autopilot an option today?" Exactly. This is what we're literally just talking about. This. Well, like perfect timing. If you go with Lando and Charles Leclerc, I think it is an option. However, if you have the Lando and Oscar lineup like I do, I don't think the autopilot chip is necessary, because if Piastri qualifies on pole and Norris is second or third, which I think the minimum Norris is going to qualify today is second, probably. I mean, he must be the favorite for the pole right now. I think Papaya McLaren will kind of team orders Piastri and be like, yo, dude, like it's time. Like you've got 2 wins. Lando did you a solid in Budapest with giving you that win. So I think it's time to repay that favor. So I think that's where my head is at with the Leclerc. If you have the Leclerc Norris, you don't need to use the autopilot chip. However, if you're going Norris and Piastri, you don't need to use the autopilot chip. But if you're going with Norris and Leclerc, then yeah, I think you can activate the autopilot chip, because yeah, Ferrari is not going to do McLaren any favors. They're hunting them down in the Constructors' Championship as well. So that is where my head is at there. But yeah, great question. I've been thinking about autopilot chip, and now that I have Piastri in, I don't need to go there, because I believe that McLaren are going to support Lando no matter what really happens here. Checking on any other stuff that's coming out of F1, where we've got qualifying. Yeah, nothing really going on all that much. Let's see, just like the F1 fantasy hashtag. Fantasy Pitwall says might be going with double kick, which I think a lot of us are doing. Let's see what else is going on. Fantasy Tune-In says McLaren, Ferrari, best constructors. He's gone from Piastri and Mercedes to Sainz and Ferrari. So he has 1.8 million in the bank as well. He's running Colapinto, Zhou Guanyu, and Alexander Albon. So I think it's fine to go with that. But like I was talking about in my race preview earlier this week, I think just getting the higher upside asset in, even if it forces you to take like one of the back markers here in Colapinto, Valtteri Bottas, or Zhou Guanyu, it's worth it. I definitely don't think that Sainz has as much of upside as Norris, Piastri, or Charles Leclerc. So I would much rather get any of those 3 assets in at whatever cost it is for a back marker, compared to whatever else you can kind of build into your lineup. Yeah, already 43 minutes in. The hour is just flying by here. There's F1 Zach has come in here. He has went with Norris and Sainz to not have double Sauber, looking like a great weekend of racing. Enjoy. And then we've actually got, let me see here. Can I open this? Ooh, I'm definitely going slightly old man with this here. Where did we go here? FF Trout just put out their simulations for the uh, Azerbaijan Grand Prix or Singapore Grand Prix. Where did he go? There we go. Boom. Share this tab instead. NK says it's a little depressing how similar most teams look. That is true. But that's going to change. Like people are going to start taking risks. We're going to be down after this weekend. NK, we're going to be down to 6 races left. If overall ranking is not important to you and you're just trying to beat your buddies in your mini league and stuff like that, people are going to take more risks. Teams are going to get a little bit different. I'm pretty sure that like I can't believe that Red Bull is going to continue to be this poor for the rest of the season. I think that's where we're kind of missing some of that. And Mercedes has fallen off a little bit here. Thank goodness that Ferrari has come through otherwise everyone would be on triple McLaren the entire time. But just having a little bit of difference now that Piastri and Leclerc are also up to A tier assets, that helps a lot as well. So people will still be trying to build budget. At this point, I'm trying to get more into the scoring points part of the game as well. But here we are with the projections or the EV from FF Trout and 11fi. So great stuff here as always. On the left here are your budgets. So my budget is 123.1. He's got the Norris, Leclerc, Zhou Guanyu, Bottas, Colapinto, McLaren, Ferrari, 242.8. He has Leclerc slightly ahead of Piastri, 28.6 with and 24.5 in EV. So I guess my gut did not agree with FF Trout here as well. And then for the constructors, it's pretty obvious with the McLaren Ferrari. And then NK is coming in here and saying, like, it feels impossible sometimes to climb up personal leagues. How do I differentiate? Well, that is a tough one. I think you will have to eventually take a risk, and that is maybe something that you can save for the final triple header. Maybe try and make someone else make a mistake with their lineup heading in to a weekend. All you can do is keep plugging away, but it kind of happens in I don't know if anyone plays Fantasy Premier League, but at the end of the season, you're trying to like kind of catch up to someone. You're like, I'm going to captain someone different. And it's like, I'm only down 10 points, so I can make this gap up. But then you captain someone different and it all goes horribly wrong. And then you're down 20 points. You're like, well, now I definitely have to captain someone different. However, if you just kept and like maybe made changes around the fringes, you would have caught up with those 10 points if you just captained like, say, Holland or Salah every week instead of kind of trying to go different with like a Trent Alexander-Arnold captaincy or something like that. But yeah, it's tough, but we're getting down to the business end of the season, 6 races to go. There's plenty of time to make that up. We've got 3 sprint weekends. We've got 2 triple headers. So there will be some chaos in F1 fantasy, but you may just need to get a little bit lucky, maybe like hop on a Max if he's showing some good form in Circuit of the Americas. You may just have to get on there and just hope that he kind of pulls it out across the weekend. Like if Red Bull's going to be strong there and there's signs that they're improving and the practice time looks good, and maybe the rest of the F1 fantasy community will just be like, well, I'm going to stick with McLaren because it could just be like a 1 race blip. But if you maybe have like your limitless or your wild card in your pocket, you could maybe go all in for that weekend with a Red Bull and then come out of it with a wild card. And then that's where you can maybe make up the difference in your personal leagues. And yeah, so it might just need to be patient and pick your spots and wait for your moment to kind of go all in and make that like last ditch attempt to overtake your buddies in your personal leagues. If anyone is joining that is new, this is my lineup for the Singapore Grand Prix. I've got Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, Greg Colapinto, Valtteri Bottas, and Zhou Guanyu with Ferrari and McLaren as my constructors. It's a very templatey lineup. Most of the differences you will see will be between Oscar Piastri and Charles Leclerc, Potentially, if you have a lower budget, you might have to have Carlos Sainz in there. Potentially, if you have a higher budget, you'll have like an Alexander Albon or a Nico Hulkenberg instead of one of the two Saubers. I would think there's some people with some insane budget. There was someone in the F1 Fantasy Tools Discord that was actually showing a triple premium driver lineup with, I think it was Ferrari and McLaren. Let's see if I can find it here real quick. Yeah, can I show, where'd this go? Yeah, this was, who are you? Sorry. Let's see. This is Cammy's lineup in the F1 fantasy chat. And this is where they went with their lineup. Very, very impressive here. Norris, Sainz, Russell, Bottas, Colapinto, Mercedes, and Ferrari. Like, holy budget, Batman. That is a really, really strong team. You couldn't really get up to like a Oscar or anything like that without going down to an Alonso, but kind of going all in with a triple premium driver lineup along with Mercedes and Ferrari. No McLaren is a little bit scary, but maybe Norris is the one that you want to go with there. So that's how you would differentiate it. And Cave, you can kind of get to the budget to maybe go against McLaren and Ferrari as the constructors. You could bring them in as another option for your F1 fantasy team. Man, 9 minutes to go. We're going to go back to my lineup here. I'm going to see what else is going on in the world with F1 fantasy. Let's see. Very templatey lineup. Yeah, not a lot of people are going different. So, oh well. What do we got here? Nothing really going on. So we'll see what these simulations from the F1 site really come out of. Last year when I was doing this, I think it was around this time last year, I did like a full kind of analysis of their predictions for every race. And now that we've got a 4-week break between Singapore and Austin, I will probably do that again and make that into an episode, just because there is a break in F1 in general. Doesn't mean that there won't be F1 fantasy content coming out of the F1 fantasy pole position YouTube channel. There'll be a race review on Monday or Tuesday, just depending on when the results get finalized for the race, because we did have a delay after Azerbaijan, and that's happened a couple of times this year when they can't get the data all up to speed and stuff like that. And yeah, so that'll be, Monday or Tuesday will be the race review. And then I think it'll only be 1 or 2 episodes a week just during the fall break, just to kind of take a deep breath before the triple header comes out at the end of the year. Got an interview lined up. I'm going to look back at my bold predictions from before the year. Some of them were hilarious. I was working on that the other day. And then, I'll do some like trends to track towards the end of the season. And then we'll be right back into it with a early team selection, green flag, yellow flag, red flag, and then just race preview and stuff. And then it'll just be every week, 3 episodes, some deadline live streams. And then, got a kind of a hopefully special project coming up at some point towards the end of the year with one of the Grand Prix coming up. And so we are just 6 minutes away. Time to get those last minute questions in. Let me know in the comments. Happy to answer anything coming your way, entering your head. This is where my lineup is for the Singapore Grand Prix. So that is where we are at in F1 fantasy so far. It kind of feels like a vibe this weekend, just with it's a night race, but it's like the same time as most European races are. So that's interesting. But then we get a lot more going on at the end of the year, where we can go to the schedule here. Let me get the schedule up. Boom, 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 boom. Share this tab instead. So these are all the races that we've already had. We've got Singapore this weekend, and then the US, Mexico, Brazil, back to back to back with the triple header. 6 more minutes, says Sammy. Yes. I'm already locked in. Let me know what your lineup is for the Singapore Grand Prix. Or if you have any last minute questions. Then we've got another couple of week break, And then it's Vegas, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi to end the year. The US, their track times are going to be that's my time. So, yeah, we got some night races coming up if you are a European F1 fan. And yeah, that'll be pretty fun. Panic Station says NK. Still don't know Leclerc or Piastri, triple McLaren. As a Papai fan, I am biased. I would go triple McLaren. I did not pull the trigger last weekend on my love for them, and I was regretting it. So I'm just going to stick to my biases and yeah, just do that because F1 Fantasy Tools, their projections are just super duper. And yeah, it's got Piastri 0.5 ahead. However, FF Trout came out and said that Leclerc had 4 extra points of EV compared to Piastri. And it covers your bases a little bit more if you go with Leclerc over Piastri. That way you're not like fully committed. Like, say if NK is a Ferrari fan here. Yes, it's a pretty head-to-head weekend. It should be very interesting. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, you want to cheer for your guy. You don't want to be like cheering against Leclerc on Sunday. That's kind of where I was at when I final fixed in Leclerc over Piastri last weekend. I was like, I really want Piastri to win, but this is killing my F1 fantasy team. So it was a little bit depressing on Sunday afternoon there. Sammy says, good luck, everyone. Good luck to you as well, Sammy. Hopefully your arrows are green and there are no DNFs. I mean, the thing is, with bringing in all of these drivers that are in the C tier and like you want to have a more balanced squad, Albon and Colapinto are on the rise. They're like super strong. A couple of races here, but it just takes one slip up on Sunday to get the DNF, and then it's just like brutal. So, you know, there's all this, like we put all this thought into it, and unfortunately, good process can be undone by a couple of bad results. It's happened quite a lot this year. It feels like in F1 Fantasy. Last year, it didn't happen nearly as much as I felt like it has happened this year. The only time I really remember it happening last season was when I used the Limitless chip in Coda, and we had Verstappen, Hamilton, and Leclerc 1, 2, 3. Went to bed, happy chappy, woke up the next morning, and Hamilton and Leclerc had been disqualified for a ride height issue. So, yeah, that is kind of, I think that's the only kind of instance that's happened this year, but it's like Monaco with the double Haas disaster. We've had the final fix issue just recently, like all that, like George Russell getting disqualified in Spa. It feels like there's been a ton of people that have had some really bad or really poor luck in F1 fantasy this year. But there's 7 races left after this weekend. There'll be 6 races left, and that's still 6 more opportunities to climb those personal mini leagues, the overall rankings. I'm not really sure what my goal is for the end of the season at this point. I mean, I'm outside the top 10K now, so I really need to finish inside the top 10K, but I'd love to kind of climb up to top 5K. But I think it's also a great kind of issue for where we are at in the game. Like there's more engaged players. It's tougher to move up. You don't really like have a easy way to get back into it. You really have to climb those ranks and plug away. But we are 2 minutes until the deadline, anyone. So if anyone has any final questions or concerns, NK, I think you know what you're going to do. But I mean, if you need me to push you over the edge, I think you want to go with Ferrari. Like you want to be cheering for your guy on Sunday afternoon and in qualifying in 2 minutes. So that's where I went with the triple McLaren as well. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I just bought a little bit too much into FP3 there, but yeah, in general, feeling good, feeling strong. Got this. I'm just gonna keep this squad as well. Probably. I don't have the autopilot for this squad. If I did, I would certainly use it. Have 3.4 million in the bank here with Albon, Colapinto, and Nico Hulkenberg, but don't really feel like I need to use it all that much as well. This team is top 900 in the world. It's doing way better than my T1 team, which is a little frustrating. But this is where all the squads are looking heading into the weekend. Yeah, there you go, NK. You are so right. Sticking with Leclerc and going autopilot. That's what I would do. Yeah, good luck to you as well. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for asking all your questions and keeping me company during the last hour. It's been a lot of fun. There'll be more of these coming down the end of the season as we all battle to get to wherever we want in F1 fantasy. But yeah, we're pretty much there. 1 minute to go, 0 minutes to go, according to this clock that just came up. So I think that is probably going to be it for the stream for me. But I appreciate everyone watching, liking, reaching out, commenting. It has been a very fun hour of F1 fantasy chit chat. But once again, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you next time.